Something happened to you this week, and it did not feel like a breakthrough. It felt quieter than that, more unsettling. Like a light came on in a room you had been navigating in the dark for so long that you had stopped noticing you could not see. You can see now, not everything, not the future, not what he is going to do or when he is going to do it. But something in the picture of him finally came into focus. And what you are feeling about that, the thing you are sitting with right now, is not relief. It is something more complicated, something that is halfway between grief and clarity, something that feels like finally understanding a sentence you have been reading over and over for months without being able to make sense of it. And this week, the sentence made sense. You have been carrying a version of him in your mind, an idea of him, the him you saw in the beginning, the him you felt underneath all the behavior, the him that looked at you once in a way that rearranged something permanent inside you. You have been protecting that version, curating it, defending it even to yourself, especially to yourself, because letting that version of him go felt like losing the entire reason you went through everything you went through. But something shifted in the last few days. Something in the story you were telling yourself started to feel thin, not false exactly, just incomplete, like it had been stretched over a reality that had a different shape. And for the first time in longer than you can remember, you stopped stretching it. You just looked, and what you saw was him, the actual him, not the worst version and not the best version, not the him who hurt you and not the him who made you feel like you had finally come home, just him, the full picture, the contradiction of him, the parts that are genuinely beautiful and the parts that are genuinely not ready, the parts that love you in the way he knows how and the parts that do not yet know how to hold what they feel. And something about seeing that clearly, really clearly, for maybe the first time is doing something strange to you. Because it is not making you love him less, it is not making you angry, it is not making you feel vindicated or superior or free, it is making you feel something quieter, truer, more settled, like the ground under your feet is suddenly actual ground instead of a story about ground. That is where you are right now, and this video is for you. If what I just described is landing somewhere real in your chest, leave a like and subscribe so you do not miss what is coming next in this series. Drop. I finally see clearly in the comments right now. That phrase is not just a comment, it is an anchor. It is you telling the universe, I am ready to see. I am ready to hold the truth without it destroying me. Leave it below and let us build that frequency together. A quick word before we go deeper. If you are at a point in your journey where you want personalized guidance, where you want someone to look specifically at your birth chart and your connection, not general information, but your energy, your timing, your soul contract, I offer personal union readings. You bring your name, your date of birth, your time of birth, and your place of birth. I bring the lens of astrology and twin flame energy to look at where you actually are, what is being orchestrated for you specifically, and what your next phase genuinely looks like. Not a template, not a general reading for your sign. Yours. You will receive a personal audio reading and a detailed PDF report directly to your inbox within 48 hours. The link is in the description. If this journey has been going long enough that you need to stop guessing and start knowing, this reading is for you. Let me tell you what is happening cosmically because it is extraordinary. And I do not say that loosely. Today, March 22nd, 2026, we have Neptune Cazimi. That is the moment the Sun and Neptune are in exact conjunction, literally the same degree of the same sign. 0 degrees, 50 Aries. What that means in practical terms is that Neptune, the planet of illusion, fog, dreams, projection, spiritual merging, the veil between what is real and what we want to be real, is being illuminated by the direct light of the sun, burned through, clarified from the inside out. Cazimi is an ancient term. In traditional astrology, it means in the heart of the sun. A planet in Cazimi is not weakened by combustion. It is empowered, purified, like a piece of metal put directly into the forge. Neptune at 0 degrees Aries, the first breath of the fire sign, the very first degree of the entire zodiac, being held in the heart of the sun. This is a veil lifting, specifically the veils we construct through love, through longing, through the very specific kind of fog that comes when we project our deepest needs and deepest knowing onto another person. Neptune rules all of that. The beautiful confusion of twin flame love, the sense that you are seeing someone's soul, the sometimes painful gap between who they are spiritually and who they are showing up as right now. All of it lives in Neptune's domain. And right now, Neptune is being held in the sun's direct light. Then, later today, Mercury, which stationed direct just 2 days ago on March 20th, conjoins the North Node at 8 degrees Pisces. Mercury, fresh from its retrograde through Pisces, the sign of deep feeling and psychic knowing, completing its backward journey and touching the exact point of collective destiny on its way forward. The North Node is where we are all being asked to grow, to move toward, to integrate. Mercury on the North Node is a message arriving at a fated address, a clarity that is not random, a thought that comes to you now because you are finally ready to receive it. These two transits together, Neptune in the heart of the sun and Mercury touching destiny, are not about information coming from outside you. They are about seeing what was already there, the truth that was always present underneath the projection. And for twin flames specifically, that truth is both simpler and more demanding than the story the fog was telling. Jung wrote extensively about what he called projection, the unconscious placing of our own inner content, our own hopes, fears, wounds, and unlived possibilities onto another person. We do not do this maliciously. We do not even do it consciously. We do it because the psyche is trying to show us something, and the most immediate screen it has available is the person in front of us. In a twin flame dynamic, this happens at an intensity that has no equivalent in ordinary relationships, because the person in front of you is genuinely a mirror. They do reflect something real. The soul recognition is real. The resonance is real. But threaded through all of that authentic recognition is also something else. Something that belongs to you. Your animus, in Jungian terms. The internal masculine. The ideal of wholeness you are searching for. The parts of yourself that you have not yet integrated, projected outward onto a man and experienced as love. This is not a criticism of your love. It is not a diminishment of what you feel. It is actually the key to understanding why the connection hits so deep, why it activates you so completely, why the separation feels like losing a part of yourself. Because in a very real psychological sense, you have been looking at a part of yourself. And the work of the twin flame journey, the painful, beautiful, unavoidable work, is to bring those projected pieces home, to stop needing to find them in him and start inhabiting them yourself. What Neptune Cazimi does in a chart is burn through that fog, not violently, not with the feeling of a revelation or an epiphany, more quietly than that, like the mist clearing from a field in the morning. You do not see the moment it happens. You just notice at some point that the field is visible. You are seeing the field right now. And what is standing in that field is him, the actual man, and you, the actual woman, and the gap between the story you have been telling about the connection and what the connection actually is at this stage. That gap is not a betrayal. It is information. It is where your growth lives. For the divine feminine, this clarity is arriving in a strange flavor. It is not the clarity you prayed for. You prayed for certainty about him, about whether he would come back, about what he actually feels, about whether this is real. The clarity arriving right now is not answering any of those questions. It is something quieter and somehow more important. It is clarity about yourself. Specifically, clarity about what you have been tolerating, what you have been bending, What version of yourself you have been performing in proximity to him and in proximity to the idea of him. The ways you have been smaller, more patient, more available, more forgiving, more understanding than you actually feel. Not because you were lying, but because you wanted to be that person. Because you believed that if you could just be patient enough, loving enough, healed enough, he would arrive. And so you held a version of yourself up like a lantern, thinking it would light his way home. The clarity that is arriving now is showing you that lantern. Looking at it clearly, feeling the weight of it, noticing what it cost you to hold it up for this long. And here is the thing about that clarity. It is not turning into anger, at least not primarily. For many of you, the feeling underneath the clarity is something more like tenderness toward yourself. The kind of tenderness you would feel watching someone you love be unnecessarily hard on themselves. You are watching yourself, watching how much you have asked of yourself in this journey, how seriously you took the assignment of your own growth, how sincerely you believed in this. And there is something in that, seeing that is genuinely moving. You are not abandoning him in this clarity. You are not deciding the connection is not real. You are deciding that you are real, that you are substantial, that your feelings, your needs, your timeline, your exhaustion, your hope, your desire for a love that is actually reciprocal, all of that is legitimate, not something to transcend, something to honor. Mercury conjunct, the North Node is putting words to something you have felt for weeks but could not quite articulate. A sentence is forming, and the sentence is not angry, it is simply true. While the divine feminine is stepping out of the fog, the divine masculine is experiencing something different under these skies. Less clarity, more pressure. Neptune Cazimi in Aries hits the masculine energy specifically in the place of identity. Aries rules the self, the sense of I am, the way you know who you are by acting in the world and seeing the results. And the divine masculine, under this transit, is being asked to look at the gap between who he presents himself as and who he actually is when no one is performing for him. This is not comfortable for a man who has been using distance as a management strategy. Distance is a Neptune tool. It creates the illusion of separation while the interior remains in contact. He has told himself a story about why he left, why he ran, why the space was necessary. And that story has been Neptune's fog. It has allowed him to not look directly at what he actually wants. The sun burning through Neptune right now means that story is becoming harder to maintain, not because someone is challenging him on it, but because it is starting to feel thin, even to him. He notices it, a thought he cannot finish, a feeling that arrives in the early morning before logic has a chance to construct the usual defense. A moment when he is somewhere completely unrelated, doing something completely mundane, and you arrive in his mind with a clarity that actually startles him. She is not the person I built her into in order to leave her. She is something else, something that I have not fully reckoned with. That thought is not fully formed in him yet. It is arriving in pieces, in body sensations, in dreams, in the slightly hollow feeling he gets when he is with someone else or doing something that is supposed to satisfy him, and it simply does not. Mercury conjunct, the North Node is also doing something specific to him. Mercury rules the mind. The North Node rules destiny. And for a divine masculine who has been resisting his own growth, who has been choosing comfort and avoidance over the more demanding path of actually showing up, Mercury touching the North Node sends a very direct signal from the deeper part of him that knows. You know what this is. You know where this is going. The question is not whether this is your person. The question is whether you are ready to become your person. That signal is not loud. He may not consciously hear it, but it is arriving. And it is beginning to shift something at a level below his awareness, in the same place where twin flame connections have always operated, below the mind, in the body, in the dreaming, in the space between thoughts where the truth tends to live. There is something specific happening for the divine masculine under Mercury conjunct, the North Node, that I want to name because it matters for you. Mercury rules communication. The North Node rules the direction of growth. And a man who has been unable to articulate what he feels, who has defaulted to silence and distance as his primary language, is being given a push right now towards something more honest. Not necessarily towards you. Not yet, and not necessarily right now. But internally, within the conversation he is having with himself. The words he has been avoiding, the acknowledgments he has been refusing to make even in private. The sentence that begins with, "I know what this is," and ends with something he is not ready to say out loud. That sentence is closer to the surface today than it has been in a long time. Mercury direct is significant for him because the retrograde period may have felt like a delay, like things that were moving toward communication got pulled back, went quiet again, felt further away. If there was a moment in the last 3 weeks where you thought something was about to shift and then it did not, the retrograde is part of that story. Mercury stationing direct does not erase that retrograde energy immediately. It takes time to clear the shadow. But the direction has reversed. The words are moving forward again. Slowly, but forward. And the North Node is pulling him. You cannot resist the North Node forever. It is not punishing in the way that Saturn is. It is more like a current. You can swim against it for a while and tire yourself out, and eventually you notice that you are not actually getting anywhere. At some point, exhausted and slightly embarrassed by your own resistance, you stop fighting the current and let it carry you where it was always going to carry you. He is getting tired of swimming against his own current. The fog is starting to thin for him too. And what he sees in the clearing is going to ask something of him. Let us go deeper into what is actually happening psychologically when a projection begins to lift. Because this is the real engine of what you are experiencing right now, and understanding it changes everything about how you relate to it. Carl Jung described the process of withdrawing a projection as one of the most demanding and most rewarding acts the psyche can perform. Because when you project something onto another person, that content, that emotional charge, that meaning, feels like it belongs to them. When the projection lifts, the charge returns to you. And the first experience of that return is often disorienting, because you are suddenly holding something that feels very large and there is no external object for it to attach to. In practical terms, this is what it feels like when you stop idealizing him, not when you start seeing him negatively, but when you stop the idealization, when you can hold both the genuine beauty of the connection and the genuine limitation of where he is right now, at the same time, without one canceling out the other. This capacity to hold contradictions, what Jung called the transcendent function, is actually the psychological hallmark of deep spiritual maturity. Most people, in most relationships, resolve contradiction by either idealizing or devaluing. They swing between, he is everything I ever wanted, and I cannot believe I wasted this much time on someone who does not deserve me. The twin flame journey, at its deepest level, is asking you to do something harder than either of those. It is asking you to hold the complexity. Yes, he is genuinely connected to you at a soul level. And yes, he is not currently showing up in the way that would allow that connection to live in physical reality. Both of those things are true at the same time. Holding both of them without collapsing into either the dream or the disappointment, that is what it means to see clearly. Cognitive dissonance research, particularly the work of Leon Festinger, shows us that the human mind is extraordinarily resistant to holding contradictory beliefs simultaneously. We have a deep biological drive toward internal consistency, which is why projection feels so compelling, so natural, so real. It resolves the dissonance. It says, he is this and only this, the beautiful soul I recognized. And it blocks out the disconfirming evidence, not through stupidity, but through the mind's genuine need for a coherent story. Festinger's original experiments in the 1950s showed something remarkable. When people are confronted with evidence that contradicts a deeply held belief, their first response is almost never to update the belief. It is to find a way to explain the evidence away, to add new information that restores the original story. This is called a rationalization, and it is not a flaw in human cognition. It is a feature. The mind uses enormous energy maintaining the coherence of its internal model of reality. Disturbing that model is experienced as threat. In a twin flame dynamic, the belief that must be maintained at almost any cost is, this connection is what I think it is, and he is who I believe him to be. The emotional investment in that belief is not small. You have organized months or years of your inner life around it. You have made decisions based on it. You have shaped your understanding of yourself, your worth, your future around the story of this connection and what it means. So when the disconfirming evidence arrives, when his actions repeatedly fail to match the soul you felt in him, your mind does not update the model. It explains, he is scared, he is not ready yet, he is doing his own work, he will come back when he has grown enough. All of those things may be true. And they have also served as a very effective system for maintaining the projection against the pressure of reality. Neptune Cazimi is doing something very specific to that drive for coherence. It is dissolving it temporarily, gently, showing you that you can survive the contradiction, that you can know the connection is real and know that he is not ready and not have one of those truths destroy the other, that you can love him truly and need more than he is giving, that you can honor the journey and also be done waiting in the way you have been waiting. The fog lifting is not the end of love. It is the beginning of a different kind of love, one that does not require distortion in order to be sustained, one that can hold the beauty and the limitations simultaneously without collapsing into either. That capacity is not resignation. It is psychological and spiritual maturity, and it is exactly what this journey has been trying to grow in you. Spiritual traditions talk about clarity as if it is bright, sharp, revelatory. And sometimes it is. But the kind of clarity that Neptune Cazimi delivers is different. It is the clarity of things settling, of the water becoming still enough to show you the bottom. For the divine feminine specifically, this clarity is landing in a few specific ways right now. First, there is a tiredness that is different from the exhaustion of separation. The exhaustion of separation is restless. It has an anxiety underneath it, a waiting energy, a quality that is not quite settled because the situation is not resolved. The tiredness of clarity is something else. It is the tiredness of having carried a particular tension for a long time and finally being able to put it down. It is heavy in the best possible way, the way a long cry feels heavy when it is finished, not depleting, completing. Second, there is a strange spaciousness around thoughts of him. If you have been in the kind of obsessive loop that separation creates, the kind where your mind reaches for him every few minutes, checking the energetic connection, feeling for his frequency, analyzing the last interaction, the last silence, the last moment of contact, you may notice that this week that loop is running differently. The reaching is still there, but there is something new in the spaces between the reaching. A breath, a moment of your own presence, a flicker of yourself without him as the reference point. That spaciousness is enormously significant. It does not mean you care less. It means you are returning to yourself. It means the tether that you have been holding so tightly is still there because a genuine twin flame connection does not actually dissolve. But you are loosening your grip on it slightly. And in that slight loosening, you are finding your own hand again. Third, and this is perhaps the most important sign, you are able to think about your life without him in it and not feel the floor drop out. Not because you have given up, but because you are beginning to understand that you exist completely and substantially regardless of whether this connection ever reaches its potential. That is not resignation. That is the ground of sovereign love. And it is, paradoxically, the energetic state most likely to create the conditions for reunion, because the twin flame connection does not move toward those who are clinging to it. It moves toward those who have become whole enough not to need it for their identity. Neptune's fog made that wholeness feel like loss. The sun burning through the fog is showing you that it is actually gain. Now, midpoint of this journey, a quick word about something that can genuinely help you stay oriented. The Twin Flame Journey Tracker and Progress Workbook is a 39-page system, not an ebook, a working document that gives you a concrete way to track exactly where you are on this journey. An 8-stage tracker so you know which stage you are actually in, not which stage you want to be in. A synchronicity log so you stop forgetting the 11:11 moments, the dreams, the signs that your rational mind is always tempted to explain away. Weekly reflections and monthly reviews so you can look back in 3 months and see actual movement instead of feeling like you have been circling the same territory. If you have ever asked yourself whether you are making progress or just repeating the same lessons, this workbook answers that question. $11.11. 39 pages. The link is in the description below. So what do you do with all of this? What does this clarity actually ask of you? The first thing it asks is that you stop arguing with what you see. The natural response to a projection lifting, especially when the projection has been your anchor for months or years, is to reconstruct it, to find evidence that the clear view is wrong or incomplete or too harsh, or that you are just in a dark phase and the fog will return, and with it the beautiful certainty that you know what this is and where it is going. The transit is asking you to resist that reconstruction, not to force yourself to see him negatively, but to allow the complexity to remain complex without immediately resolving it back into the dream. The second thing it asks is that you direct some of the love you have been storing for him back toward yourself. This is not a spiritual platitude. It is a specific instruction with a specific energetic mechanism. The love you feel is not going to evaporate because you stop directing all of it outward. It is going to find a home. And if that home is partly inside you, if some of that love becomes genuine regard for yourself, genuine acknowledgement of your own beauty and depth and worthiness, that actually strengthens the energetic signal you are sending out. It does not weaken the connection. It deepens it. The third thing is related to Mercury conjunct the North Node. Something needs to be expressed right now. Something you have been holding internally. Something you have been articulating only to yourself, or only to close friends, or only in the 3 a.m. version of yourself, that has no more energy for performance. There is a truth that is ready to move from the inside to the outside, not necessarily to him, not necessarily even out loud, but in some form, writing it, speaking it, recording a voice memo to yourself. The act of giving language to what you are seeing is a completion of the Mercury North Node transit. You are not just receiving clarity, you are becoming a vessel for it. Because the North Node is not just personal destiny, it is the direction of collective growth. What you are learning right now about projection, about seeing clearly, about loving without losing yourself, is not only your healing, it is a piece of something larger. Your willingness to hold this complexity with grace, to love truly without the fog, to become whole without making him responsible for your wholeness, that is the template. That is what the universe is building through you. Here is where I want to land with you because I think this piece matters more than most. The twin flame journey has a particular cruelty to it that not enough people talk about, which is that the moment you genuinely start to become free, the moment the fog genuinely starts to lift and you genuinely start to find yourself again, that is very often the moment the connection starts to move. Not always, but often enough to be a pattern, often enough that it has been documented across thousands of twin flame journeys in ways that defy easy explanation. The energy of someone who is no longer waiting, who is no longer holding themselves in suspension for a love that has not shown up yet, who has genuinely relocated their center of gravity back inside themselves, is the most compelling frequency a twin flame connection can transmit. Not because you are strategically withdrawing to make him want you, but because the connection is genuinely drawn toward the version of you that is most fully yourself. So when I say that the clarity arriving this week is not the end of something, I mean it. It is the beginning of a different chapter, one where you are the protagonist in your own story, rather than the person waiting for the protagonist to show up. One where the love is just as real, but you are no longer organized around the absence of it. Neptune, Cazimi, and Aries is burning away the illusion that you need to stay small in order to be loved. That you need to stay in the fog in order to stay connected. That seeing clearly is a betrayal of the dream. Mercury on the North Node is delivering a message at a fated address. And the message is, the truth is not your enemy. The truth is the only way forward that actually leads somewhere. You do not need the fog anymore. You never did. The connection does not require it. The love does not require it. The only thing that required the fog was the fear. And the fear is beginning to lift with it. Sit with what you are seeing this week. Do not rush it into something new. Let the clarity be what it is. Let the complexity breathe. Let yourself be here, in the clear light, exactly as you are, exactly as he is, exactly as the connection is right now, without needing any of it to be more or less than it actually is. This is where the real journey begins, not the journey of waiting, the journey of living, fully, in the clarity, in the complexity, in the love that does not need the fog to survive. You have been in this long enough. You have been patient enough. You have grown enough inside this journey to be trusted with the truth of what it actually is, rather than the comfortable dream of what you needed it to be. That trust, the universe giving you clear eyes instead of beautiful ones, is a sign of how far you have actually come. Most people never make it to this moment. Most people keep the fog because the fog is softer than the truth. You are here, eyes open, heart still full. That is not a small thing. If this video found you at the right moment, hit subscribe so you do not miss what comes next. Leave "I finally see clearly" in the comments and let me know where you are in your journey. I read everything. And if you are ready for a personalized reading of your own birth chart and your specific connection, the link for your twin flame union personal reading is in the description. You deserve eyes on your specific path. I will see you in the next one.